Welcome to Bridges. I'm Monica Schmelter, and I'm so glad that you could join us today. Today, we're going to talk about healthy living, and my guest is a registered nurse. She's also got an MBA. She's written all kinds of books on healthy living. Her name is Susan Neal, and most importantly, she started this journey with losing her health, and so she's going to share tips with us on how to get ourselves back to healthy living. Susan, it's good to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Monica.
So one of your books is 7 Steps to get off sugar and carbohydrates, and I think that's probably something we all need to do, but it sounds really hard, so I'm excited to learn that. But you kind of share that you came to this knowledge by losing your health.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about what that was about.
Okay, when I was 50, I had an abscessed tooth, and it led to having 10 different medical diagnoses and 2 surgeries. And after some time, it's like the doctors couldn't help me. And so I went back to my knowledge from my being a registered nurse and a master's in health science, and I did the things that I needed to do to reclaim my health. I figured things out, and after about 8 months, I was healed. And so
That's amazing. Tell me though, how old were you?
I was 50.
You were 50 and it was an abscessed tooth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what were you experiencing in your body other than the abscessed tooth? When you say you lost your health, what were you going through?
Okay, so I had depression, 2 menstrual periods a month, adrenal fatigue, a hole in my retina, low vitamin D, anemia. I had 2 polyps that I had to have removed, and it just went on and on.
Yeah, so at 50, you really weren't very healthy because, you know, relatively young, and that's a lot of health problems.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so the doctors, I guess they gave you medicine, they just couldn't help, or?
Well, they did emergency surgery on my eye. They did, you know, surgery to remove the polyps. They gave me vitamin D. They gave me, you know, iron. And it's like, here you go. And what I had is I had an overgrowth of Candida in my colon. And so I went to my internal medicine doctor, and I'm like, okay, I know that I have this now, and how do I get rid of it? And he's like, I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know what to do with Candida. Candida is a yeast. And when individuals take antibiotics, it kills the good probiotics, the good bacteria in your gut. And so the bad guy, yeast, overgrows. And we were not trained to take probiotics after we take a whole regime of antibiotics. We were never trained to do that. So therefore, the bad guy grows. Well, the bad guy, you know what he eats? Candida eats sugar and refined carbohydrates.
Okay, so, you know, I think we probably all know that all of us, most of us, eat too much sugar, and it's hard to stop because it's addictive.
Yes, it is.
And so you're a nurse now, and so you're having these health problems, and so you tap into like what you've learned on health to get yourself out of this health crisis?
Right. So I had to go on an anti-Candida cleanse diet. So I had like no sugar, no refined carbohydrates, no fruit for like 8 months. And I had to take an anti-Candida cleanse, and it killed the guy. And I took high-powered probiotics, and I reestablished the flora in my gut. And you see, God made our bodies to heal. If we give them the right nutrients, our bodies will heal. And my body healed. The adrenal fatigue healed. And I had energy again, and I had clarity of mind. And so now I want to share that with others.
Right, because one of the things that I saw that you mentioned the word brain fog.
Yes.
And a lot of people think that they're in brain fog because they're getting older, and that's why, and you're saying that it might also be what we eat.
Oh, it most definitely is what we eat. Yes, when I go ahead and splurge and have tiramisu with the wheat and the sugar and the dairy, then yep, the next day I have a little bit of brain fog.
So pretty much if you stay off of sugar and carbohydrates, you don't experience brain fog or anything?
No, you don't. You have clarity of mind and you have energy because, yeah, you're...
But I want to ask you this because I know that, you know, Susan Neal is a registered nurse. She has a health background. She's written this Healthy Living series, and one of the books we're talking about is 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates. So I do eat sugar and carbohydrates, so I think I should get that out there. This is what I find, Susan, if I cut carbs, I get tired. I don't have a lot of energy and I get headaches. And that's what a lot of people say is like, does it take a certain amount of time before, I mean, was it hard for you to make this adjustment or?
So yes. Well, so the first week is really tough. Really,
Okay.
it's the first 3 to 5 days. The first 3 to 5 days that you cut your carbs, and I suggest doing it slowly.
Okay. I saw that in your book, which I think is very smart.
I am not a cold turkey person. I provide 7 simple steps. We do things slowly. And so it's not so terrible because for the first 3 to 5 days that you cut out all the refined sugars and carbohydrates, you feel like you're almost getting the flu. You feel tired and lethargic. So on my plan, I say start on a Wednesday. So that by Saturday and Sunday, when you're experiencing the most symptoms from like coming off almost like a drug, then you can home and I say rest, read, and relax. Take care of yourself that weekend. And by Monday, you're coming out of it. And by Tuesday, you're just renewed with your energy and the brain fog is gone. And it's well worth weaning yourself off of those substances.
Because, you know, that was one of the things that I really appreciated about your book was that you take us through what would be a slower, simple journey and kind of help us know what to expect. Because I remember the first time that I tried to do this, it was just, I wasn't expecting to feel so bad.
Right.
But you're saying eventually we'll recover.
Yes, after after the first week.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the book is 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates. And Susan Neal wrote the book, and she is a registered nurse, so she has a health background as well. You also mentioned anti-inflammatory diet, because one of the things that I hear people, you know, doctors say it's inflammation, it's inflammation.
Yes.
And so people take anti-inflammatory medicines, and then those have side effects and are hard on some people. Does inflammation go away if we follow this?
Yes. Yes, it does. So I believe in getting back to the garden, the Garden of Eden. So when you look at your food, say, okay, is this food that I'm about to eat, was it made by God? Is it a baked potato? It's perfectly fine to eat. Okay, is it a potato chip?
Probably not.
Potato chips did not grow on trees in the Garden of Eden, but almonds did. So let's evaluate your food. Is your food made by a food manufacturer to fatten their bottom line, or is it made by God? And eat, you know, He gave us over 100 different vegetables. Eat them. Don't eat the breads and the things out of boxes and bags.
So you think that a lot of the health issues that people are experiencing is basically the foods that we eat?
Yes, I do.
I would love for you to take us through some of these steps, because I know you've got several books. If you would, though, first, give me a comparison of what you felt like when you had that abscessed tooth and the health feeling. Compare that to how you're doing now.
I would go groceries. When I was very sick, I would go grocery shopping, and I would come home, and I would just have to go to bed. I couldn't even put the groceries away. That was the biggest thing I could do all day.
So you really were not feeling well.
I was not. And now I have so much energy. I'm vibrant. I have clarity of mind. I have goals. I'm excited. And I want other people to feel this. And we can reclaim our health.
So help us if you would. And I know that you've got a number of books. You've got a study guide to go along with the book. What are some of the steps that we can take? And I wish you could tell us everything from the book in this short time, but if you could give us some teasers about how we might apply some of these principles.
Let me go through the 7 steps. So 1 is to decide, because each person has to decide on their own. Nobody can force them to do it.
Right.
But once you make up your mind, you can achieve it. And in this book, I'm like your cheerleader. I'm like, you can do it. And I'm so excited that you've decided to pursue this journey to reclaim your health. So 2 is you've got to gain knowledge. You've got to, understand what are the bad foods and what are the good foods. And I kind of go through a mindset change. I take you gradually through, like of just evaluating your food. But you gain knowledge. And then if you understand, I'll give you an example. Most of our wheat, corn and oat crops in the United States are Roundup Ready crops. When they're Roundup Ready crops, the seed has the GMO seed has the Roundup Ready like in it to where the plant is not, when it's sprayed, it's not going to be harmed by the Roundup. So then farmers can spray the Roundup on it, and then what happens is we get the residue of the glyphosate. Glyphosate is a carcinogen. So we have that in oats, wheat, and corn. So therefore we should buy organic. Well, if you have that knowledge, then you'll buy organic. But if you don't, you won't. So I go through and tell you what foods are good, what foods are not based on research. And I have a lot of clinical studies that I've reviewed to determine that. And then I also, from a spiritual background, I want you to get a support system. So a support system such as an accountability or prayer partner, somebody that you can go to and ask for prayer. And then number 3 is to clean out your pantry, clean out your refrigerator, your freezer, get rid of the bad stuff, and clean out your emotions with the Lord. Number 4 is going to be purchasing all the good stuff. Now you've got all that great knowledge about what's good. You're going to be buying God's foods. You purchase it. Number 5 is the plan. Okay, I take you through the 7 days physically of what you need to do. We're slowly going to get off of these things, but I also provide you with a 5-step spiritual plan. So with this 5-step spiritual plan, it's like, okay, what you need to do to fight spiritual temptation of a food addiction, if that is a stronghold in your life. And then number 6 is to implement the plan. 7 is to go ahead and live this new lifestyle, improving your health and living it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And so you really do, she really does take us step by step through this book, 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates. There is a Christian study guide that also walks us through these steps as well. And I know, Susan, that it's all about a guide to healthy living. And you mentioned food addiction and changing the lifestyle. And we've got to take a break in just a moment, but if you could give us just a teaser before the break, you know, is it really possible to eat like this, though, for the rest of your life when there's so many events that are just surrounded with food?
Well, I do. It's one person who does. But you also don't want a noose around your neck. So I believe in an 80-20% rule. 80% of the time eat well. 20% of the time, I may have my tiramisu.
Right. And that was something that I also really appreciate about the book, because I think if we think, oh, I've got to do this forever, like I don't know if I can, but we've got to take a break. I want you to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about healthy living, 7 steps to get off sugar and carbohydrates, and what we can all do to improve our quality of life and improve our health. We'll be back in just a moment.
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, ctntv.org.
Log on to www.ctntv.org, where you can make a prayer request, view our program guide, see who's on Bridges, or even watch one of Monica's latest teachings. Log on to www.ctntv.org.
If you're just joining us today on Bridges, we're talking about 7 steps to get off sugar and carbohydrates, and author and registered nurse Susan Neal is my guest. And one of the things that we're going to delve into at this point is food addictions and emotional eating. And most of us, if we're honest, struggle, if not all the time, at least some of the time with those issues. And Susan, I know that you do that in these books, and you've got a healthy living series. You help us deal with food addiction and emotional reasons for eating. So let's talk about that a little, if we could.
Okay. I really get to the root issue. Okay, I do not want to treat symptoms. So I look at, okay, do you have a food addiction? Okay, there's food addiction quizzes and tests that you can take to determine that.
How could you give us a teaser on that? Like, what would be an example?
There's like a test that you can take, and it's a written test.
Yes.
So you can go, I provide a website that you can go to and have that. So to determine that for yourself. Right. Many people know. and already know
Yeah,
inside
absolutely.
they do.
And I think most of us do, you know, at least on a couple of areas. So that I think it's great that you do that.
Yes. 2, a Candida test. First, okay, we got to decide, do we have a food addiction, Candida, or an emotional issue with food? So for a Candida, I explain a really simple test that you can do at home to determine if you have an overgrowth of this yeast in your gastrointestinal system. Because if you do, then you should try and kill the yeast and take probiotics and balance your gut flora. Next is, do you have an emotional issue with food? Does it provide you comfort? You know, do you stuff your emotions and, you know, eat food to fill it? Do you have unforgiveness? You know, what emotional component do you have? Abuse in your background? And so we go through, that's why I wrote the Christian Study Guide, because I wanted to delve in deep. If you have, you know, a dysfunctional pattern with food, how can we break it?
Yeah.
So we get into the emotional and spiritual component in the Christian Study Guide to 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates.
And I really appreciate that you do that and that you really prescribe the 80-20 rule, you know, because we all, I think, need a little wiggle room because we live in this world where there are all these things and there's lots of activities that center around food and, you know, probably none of us could be perfect all of the time in all of these areas, but this is really healthy living series. Is this a weight loss?
No, it is not a weight loss program at all. We are, this is to focus on your health and improve your well-being, your mental clarity, your energy level, your aches and pains. It's to heal the body that God has given to you. That's what we want to do.
And, you know, because I think when a lot of times we think about getting off sugar and carbohydrates, we think, well, that's weight loss. And probably if I did this, I would lose weight.
Oh, yes, you do.
But it would just be a
do.
natural outflow of the fact that I'm eating right. Because I think what gets hard is then people want to lose weight, right, and get healthy, and we have all these things, and then people go up and down because it's not a lifestyle. It's not a healthy living thing. And so then we feel even worse about ourselves. What about, like, when we talk about healthy living, if someone eats this way, and again, the book is 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates, and there is a Christian study guide to go with it as well to help you identify maybe an emotional issue, the root of that with food or addiction. What about, like, a lot of people, as we get older, you know, joint pain, arthritis, a lot of things that are, considered to be inflammation issues. Will this kind of a diet help with that possibly?
It'll make those symptoms go away.
Really?
Yes. Yes, my sister became gluten sensitive. And so those 7 steps came from me helping her. And so one summer, she was like, Susan, I'm gluten sensitive, and I'm the health nut of the family.
Probably everybody calls you for advice, don't they?
So I developed the 7 steps for her. She got off the gluten. She did absolutely wonderful. And then the next summer, she's like, I have rosacea now on my face, and it's due to the sugar. I don't eat wheat or gluten, but I eat sugar. And so I'm like, let's do the 7 steps again. And she did. Her rosacea went away. And do you know, within 2 weeks, her joint pain went away. It was gone. So your body heals.
Yeah. And I do know that God made our bodies to heal themselves. He's good. That's what he does. And I think that on some level, you know, that most of us have just accepted that there are just certain things that we're going to go through and that we're going to have certain aches and pains. And you're really kind of stepping up as a health expert and as a registered nurse to say that there really might be things that we could do beside prescription medicine that would provide relief to our bodies.
Yes, right. We want to treat the root cause and not the symptoms.
Yes. Well, because so many times we're just going after symptoms.
That's right.
You know, and it's like, if I could just make that symptom go away, and you're saying if we could get to the root of that, we can make the symptom go away, but then we're in a better position. Now, there's another book that I don't have here, but you had mentioned it to me, and it sounded interesting, about a journal. Tell me about that and how that works.
Okay, that's the Healthy Living Bullet Journal. So if you are really serious and you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, have inflammation, whatever chronic issue you may have, and you want to heal, then if through this bullet journal you track your food, you track your well-being, all these different symptoms list, and I provide you with like little snippets of education, and then you're able to figure out the culprit. For me, it was dairy. Okay, every time I had dairy, then at night when I'd go to bed, I'd have to use a cough drop, I'd have postnasal drip, I'd have phlegm. It was like, what is going on? Well, when I eliminated that from my diet, those symptoms went away. So I figured out my culprit. So through this Healthy Living bullet journal, you can figure out your food culprit.
I see. Because it would probably be, is it different for different people, that different people respond to different things in different ways?
Yes, like for example, like foods with high in MSG, monosodium glutamate, it may cause somebody not to sleep. Oh my gosh, insomnia is terrible. So figuring out, okay, these are the nights I'm not sleeping. Well, what did you eat that day? Go back and track it. And then what is the item of food that is consistent each time you have that issue? We can't, it's like solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
And we can put the pieces of the puzzle together by using that journal.
And really, as I think about that bullet journal, Susan, one of the things I think is like when we go to the doctor, if we haven't journaled, like if we don't know, we just really know our symptoms. We really, and how could the doctor, she or he, figure out what's going on? They're not with us every day.
Right.
They wouldn't have a way to know. So this is kind of a way to kind of take charge and take back and reclaim your own health. I want us to, we're talking about healthy living today. Susan Neal is a registered nurse. She's an author. We're talking about 7 steps to get off sugar and carbohydrates. There is a Christian study guide and also a bullet journal to go along with this to help us improve our health. So many times when people get conditions like being diabetic or different things, what we're told is lose weight. And many times losing some weight will help with that issue, but most times people are not able to lose weight. Let's kind of talk about that for a minute, because I remember just last week someone telling me, well, when I go to the doctor, the only thing she has to say to me is, all of my problems are because I just need to lose weight, and I'm sick of hearing that.
You see, I do not believe in focusing on your weight. I really think that you should focus on your health and your well-being, but what you eat. Did God create the food item that you're about to eat, or did the food manufacturer? And so shelf life means no life. And so what happens is food, processed food, all the nutrients that God put into the food are stripped away. They create this product. They might even enrich it with some man-made vitamins. That doesn't make sense. We need to go back to eating God's nutritious foods and focus on our health.
So would you explain what you mean when you said shelf life means no life? What does that mean?
It means that when a product can sit on the shelf for months and months, and then you bring it to your pantry and it sits on your pantry for months and months, do you think that there's any nutritional value in that food?
No, what I think is Twinkies. Twinkies, I think that they have a shelf life, people say, of over 20 years. And so even though that cream-filled sponge cake seems to taste good when you put it in your mouth, there can't be anything in it that's good for us.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, because I think one of the sad things about when people just focus on weight and all of that, this is what I found before I went on a healthier eating journey, is that even though I was eating a lot of calories, it was mostly junk food. So I was really still hungry for good things. I just didn't recognize that.
Right, right. And when we don't eat like vegetables and fruits that have fiber, that fill our stomach, and we eat the potato chips or the processed food, it takes so much more of it because there's no fiber.
Right. Because really, if we eat God's way, we can all have a good amount of food every day. It's not really like, we're just not really starving. Because when I look back, like, I call myself a former junk food queen. It's not that I never eat it now. It's just that that's all I ate before. And I almost always had a headache. And I was almost always hungry, but I didn't recognize that what my body wanted was real nourishment, like some fruit, some vegetables, some protein. That was just totally off my radar. I had no idea that that was the problem.
Right, right. We're starving ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not providing the nutrients that God intended for us to consume.
Yeah. So if somebody's watching right now, Susan, and they're thinking, man, I'm a diabetic, or I'm pre-diabetic, or I've got high blood pressure, or even I'm healthy right now, I'm just wanting to do better by myself. Tell me kind of what that would look like in terms of getting adjusted as they go through your Healthy Living series, 7 steps to getting off sugar and carbohydrates.
I would say it's a mind step change where you're going to evaluate everything you eat and determine if it was made by God or a food manufacturer. And if it was made by God, I don't think it matters that it was a baked potato and it's white or whatever, or it's brown rice. Those are good, wholesome carbohydrates. We just don't want the refined ones that have been given a long shelf life and all the nutrients taken out of it.
And I think that that's really important because our bodies do need carbohydrates.
That's right. Yeah, complex carbohydrates are in, most vegetables.
So we've got just 1 minute left. What is one last thing that you might like to share with people today about getting healthy?
Evaluate everything that you eat, and may God bless your journey to improve your health and well-being.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about. I
Yes,
mean, when
it
I hear
is.
you say, well, you can get rid of inflammation, joint pain, not have brain fog, who wouldn't want that?
Yes, yes.
We
And
would all
I
want that.
got my health back, and
Yes.
I want other people to feel good too.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Susan, for coming and sharing today.
Thank you so much, Monica.
It was good
Such
to-
a blessing to be here.
It was good to talk to you. So we'll have, if you weren't able to get the information today while you were watching, we will put all of Susan's information up on the website so that you can start that journey to healthier living. We are all out of time. We've got to go, but we say goodbye and God bless you. The blood of Christ is the only cure. It gets down to the root of every single thing that ails us. There's not an addiction, there's not a generational curse, there's not any root of sin, there's nothing that the blood of Jesus cannot cleanse.
Visit monicaschmelter.com to schedule Monica to speak at your event.
When I truly turned my heart to the Lord, He took every sin I ever did away from me. He took all the bad things I did. He took away everything that I felt like I fell short.
God is so good. God healed me, and doctors told me that disease was something that could never be cured. It can be controlled.
The start is what stops most people. It's no good to have a big dream if you're not putting yourself in motion to go after that.
Is that butterfly, that excitement of the new relationship, once that goes away, what you're left with, is that something that you're okay with?
And once they start buying into the truth about themselves, then they can begin to change, that process of change in their life.
Join the Bridges community on Facebook. Visit Facebook and search for Bridges with Monica. We would love to connect with you.